Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
We're learning Mishna Gittin, Parak Vav, Chapter 6, Mishna Zayin, Mishna 7. Today's Mishnah is sponsored L'Zaycha Nishmas in memory of Chaim Gavriel ben Mishna Nachum, in memory of Chaim Gavriel Mishna Nachum by the Garden children in memory of their uncle, his Neshama Shalav and Aliyah.
Amen.
Amar L'Shnayim, a person, meaning a husband, said to two people, Tenu get li ishti, give a get to my wife. What's he saying to them? He says to two people, give a get to my wife. What's his intent there? So intent there is write the get, sign it, and give it to her. That's what they mean. That's what he means, rather. Okay? So, as they explained down here, since a get cannot be given until it is written and signed, when a husband tells agents to give a get without handing them a get to give, which is the case here, he's not handing them a get, take the get. He's saying, give a get, and he's not even giving, he's saying, give my wife a get, but he doesn't hand them a get. So what does he mean to say? So he means that he wants them to write the get, sign it, because if you don't sign it, it's not going to do anything, and then give it. Meaning he wants them to do everything. By telling them to give the get, he's saying to them, you are the ones who are to do everything here that's involved in getting the get to her. You write it, you sign it, and you bring it to her. Now, as we mentioned before, on the other hand, when a husband tells people to write a get and does not say anything about giving it, he means only that they should write it and sign the get and nothing more, as we had in the previous Mishnah. If he says write it, then all he says write it. Write it means write it, sign it, but more than that he never told them, and therefore they can't go any further. But in this case, he said, Tenu, give. But what does he mean when he says give? So the answer is, he means to say to them, write it, sign it, and give it. Oy l'shleisha, Mishnah continues, or he said to three people, Kisvu get utnu li'ishti. He says, write a get and give it to my wife. Okay, so there's three people, write a get and give it to my wife. So in both cases, the halacha is, Harei elu yichtivu v'yitnu. These are the ones, these have to write it and give it. That means, when in these two cases, let me read it to you. In these two cases, when he tells them, like when he tells the two people, give it, or he tells the three people, write and give, he's saying to them, I want you to do it, nobody else. You are the ones that I am making an agent for me to take care of this get, and no one else can. Since the only thing they receive from now, okay, so this is what he said to them. That's what he said. He told them, write it and give it. Now, when he said that, he said for them to do it. This is what I want you to do. I want you to do it. Soon as we're going to see a different case. But in this case, where he said to the three people, write it and give it, he means to say, I am giving you the power to write the get for me, to sign the get, which you need to do in order for it to be a kosher get, and deliver it. Let's say they want to go ahead and give it to somebody else to do. What do you want somebody else to do? You know, they don't want it. They don't have time to do it. So they want to hire a sefer to write it, right, and get witnesses to sign it, and get somebody else to deliver it. Can they do that? That's what Mishnah says they cannot. Harei elu yichtivu v'yitnu. These are the ones who have to write it and have to give it. The explanation is, as they bring down here in the notes, since the only thing they received from the husband was words, meaning instructions, but nothing tangible like the get itself. Meaning if he would have actually, as I bring down here, we already learned this, if you give a shliach a get, right? You give a shliach a get to deliver, and he decides to give it to somebody else to do.
No,
Yes.
he can do it.
Yes, he can. A shliach can't do that. Unless, specifically he doesn't want anybody else to do it, you can hand it over to somebody else to do. They may give it to another agent to deliver it for them. But here, that's not what he did, right? He told them, write it and give it. Or in the first case, he said, give it, which means write it and give it also. They cannot transfer their duties to another agent. This is because of the general rule listen to this rule, words cannot be handed over from an agent to an agent. That's a rule. If I have a get, if I have something tangible, I can give it over to somebody else I can give my job over to somebody else. But if all I received are instructions or words, then I can't pass that on to somebody else. And this concept is, the way they explain it, words such as the instructions to write a get are too insubstantial to be transferred to others. That's the rule. Words are just words, and they're not something you can pass over to somebody else. You got the instructions, you're empowered, fine. But more than that, you can't do. If you had an actual get, the husband gave you an actual get to deliver, so he gave you a get, now give over the get to somebody else. That has enough substance, so to speak, to do so. But words not. And in these cases, he instructed them to do these things specifically. Now we'll get more understanding from the next part of the Mishnah. Omar l'shloisha. Let's say he said to 3 people, Tenu get li'ishti, give a get to my wife. Now understand, the case before was he said to 3, write and give. And in this case, he only says to the 3, give. Hare elu yomru la'achayrim yichtavu. They can tell others to write it. Meaning they can get a sefer to write it, they can get other witnesses to sign it, they can get somebody else to deliver it. Mipnei sha'asan beistin. Because when he spoke to these 3 people, he made them into a beistin. Divrei Rebbe Meir, these are the words of Rebbe Meir. By doing this, okay, by saying to these 3 people, now 3 people is the minimum of a beistin, a rabbinical court. So if he just said to them, give, and it's 3, then he has created them into a court. He has empowered them to take care of it. You don't got to do it, take care of it, like a bezdin would. So let's get a little bit more understanding here. Nothing the husband said indicates that he wants them to write the get themselves. He spoke only of giving his wife the get and did not say anything about who should write it. Therefore, since he gave his instructions to 3 people, we assume, again according to Reb Meir, that he was designating them as a court to arrange a get, and they are therefore permitted to appoint others to write and sign it. Okay? Now, he gave them the power to do it, right? He told them to do it. But because it's 3 people, which is a bezdin, now because he gave them the power of a bezdin to take care of it, it's different. Why? Now let's remember, in the case before, when you only told them, let's say you told 2 people give, which means write and give, they're certainly not a bezdin 2 people, right? There we say they cannot give their words or instructions to others. They got to keep it themselves, right? That's when they're witnesses. When they're a beistin, when they're a rabbinical court, when you have 3, and according to Reb Meir, you made them a beistin, you empower them as a beistin has the power to assign words to others. That's the rule. That's what Meir holds. Because again, the whole issue before was, if all they received from the husband were words, were instructions, you can't pass on words. Well, the Bezdin didn't get more than instructions either. But the point is that since they're a beistin, the rabbinical court has the power to pass an assignment of words to others, even though ordinary agents do not. Okay? Now, let's go contrast it to the cases before. However, in the first case of the Mishnah where the husband told 2 people to give a get, he could not have meant to make them a court, since the court requires a minimum of 3 people. Right? So what are they? We call them witnesses. We give them the power of witnesses, which again, they can sign it, they can be the witnesses. They could also write it, they could also deliver it. Okay, but he didn't, but it's only 2 people. We therefore assume that he meant that he wanted them to write and deliver it. Okay. And that was the first case when he said to 2 people, give the get. Then you have the second case where he said to 3 people. But in that case, he explicitly told them to write the get, which implies that he wants them to write and sign the get themselves, and not that they should serve as a court to appoint others. In the case before, although he's speaking to 3, by telling them to write it, that means he wants them to write it. When he wants them to write it, then they can't. Then that means he didn't give them the power of a court. He wants them to write it, and if they're not a court, they're only witnesses, so to speak. Then they cannot pass on their words, the instruction they received, to somebody else. Okay, so that is the Rebbe Meir. These are the words of Rebbe Meir. Okay, let's continue on. This halacha, Rebbe Chanina of Ono brought from jail. From jail? Who was in jail? Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was in jail because he had disobeyed the rule of teaching Torah as the Romans had decreed, and he was thrown in jail. And this Rebbe Chanina, Ish Oinai, visited him in jail. So what did he talk to them about in jail? He talked to learning. He talked to Torah. So he said when he was in jail, this halacha, what we're discussing, Rabbi Hanina brought from the jail with Rabbi Akiva, and he said, Mukubal ani, I have a tradition. Rabbi Akiva said, I have a tradition. But when he says to three people, Tanu get li ishti, give a get to my wife, they can tell others, and they will write it, they shason bezin, because he made them a bezdin. That was what Rabbi Akiva said. Rabbi Akiva said that he received that from earlier sages. My Rabbi Yossi said, well, numinu la shaliach. We said back to the messenger, meaning back to Rabbi Chanina ish Einai, about his message, we said back to him, af anu mukubalan. We also have a tradition from earlier sages. And our tradition is, shafilu amar lebezin agadol shebiyushalayim. If he walked over to the high court of Yerushalayim, he went to the Sanhedrin themselves, and he said to them, Tanu get li ishti, give a get to my wife. That's what he said to them. Those words that we just said, he said to three people, right? To three whoever's, right? He goes to the highest court of the Jewish people and he says those words, give the get to my wife. You know what they have to do? Says the Mishnah, according to the Rabbi Yossi, she'il medu, if they don't know how to write, they got to learn how to write. V'yichtavu and write it, v'yitnu and give it. Meaning, our tradition is, no matter how many people you have said this to, when you say tanu to them, even though you said tanu, which would mean kind of, didn't tell them to write it, just said to deliver it, take care of it, right? And there are three, they're a bezdin. Still, Rabbi Yossi says it doesn't help. They themselves have to do it. Why? Because this principle that we say, that words cannot be given over to someone else, doesn't only apply to witnesses, it applies even to a bezdin. And even to the highest bezdin, if all they got were instructions, were words, you cannot pass on words to someone else to take care of. And therefore, they disagreed with Reb Meir, disagreed with Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Yossi said, no, it's got to be they themselves, because they can't empower somebody else. The instructions are given to them, even though maybe he wasn't, so to speak, specific, they have to do it, but he gave them the words, that's all he gave them, they can't pass it on. Let's conclude the Mishnah. Amar la Sarah. He walked over to 10 people, and he said to them, Kisvu get li ishti, write a get for my wife. 10 people, write a get for my wife. What's the halacha? Echad kaisei v'shnayim chaismin. One writes it, two sign it. You don't need all 10 there. Well, when he says to the 10, write a get to my wife, he means to say, amongst all 10 of you, write the get. That means one of you write it, two of you sign it, and the rest of you have a good day. Just that any 10 of you can do it. Because what did he say to them? All he gave the instructions was to write it, which means although he gave his instructions to write and sign the get to a group of 10 people, not specify that they all must sign, which indicates that he was not insisting that they all sign. Rather, he meant only to give each of them permission to serve as a scribe or as one of the two witnesses. Okay? As noted above, the husband's instruction to write again is understood to mean write and sign it. Okay. Now, if let's say he walked over to the 10 people and he said, Kulam kasayvu, all of you write the get. All of you write the get. Didn't just say to them, write the get. All of you write the get. That means he wants all 10 people involved. So what happens then? Echad kaisev, one writes, Kulam chaismin, and they all have to sign. Because he said to them, all of you. If he said all of you means all of you. Now, all of you write it doesn't mean you all have to learn. All of you are going to write it like everybody has to write the get. That's ridiculous. We understand the man means one writes, everybody else signs, but everybody has to participate. Lefikach, therefore, says the Mishnah, Imeis echad mehen. If one of those 10 die, harei ze get batal. The get is it cannot be used. It's useless. Cannot be used because the condition was it's got to be all 10. Have a wonderful day. Agatubach. And whether there'll be a Mishnah class tomorrow, I guess will really depend on who's here because of the snow. Have a wonderful day. And Agatubach.
If it rains,
If it rains,
it'd be white.